Craig Lieberman coming back for another episode. For this one, I'm going to talk about my driving record. I remember my first ticket. I had this little 1981 Isuzu iMark, little four-door sedan thing that I had lowered, painted Indian Porsche red, put a Porsche 930 style turbo tail on the back. And the thing was as obnoxious and as riced out as you could probably imagine. So all the cops in town knew me, but we didn't hang out where I lived in Newhall, Valencia much. We usually go down to the valley. One of my favorite places was to go to Zuma Beach, which is by Malibu. So we used to go, 4 or 5 of us, a bunch of different cars, and just kind of convoy over there down to 405 to the 101 and then get off at Canaan Road and head out towards Zuma. And if you've ever driven that patch, you know that there's a tunnel there that's famous. The tunnel is famous because every douchebag with a modified exhaust, including people like me, would go ripping through that tunnel. Well, the CHP has been smart for more than 30 years. They just camp outside the end of the tunnel and wait for people to go flying through the tunnel. On this one particular day, I passed up my friends who had to stop at the bottom of the hill to get gas. They were in my buddy was in his mom's station wagon. Another buddy was in his, I think, Honda Civic 4-door, and another buddy was in his, I think it was 200 SX. They were still down at the bottom of the hill, and I had already gone up the hill. So I see the tunnel, and of course I think my car sounds bitchin'. Which it didn't. And so I go flying through the tunnel, probably doing 75 by the time I got out of the tunnel. It was probably a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. As soon as I go out of the tunnel, shit, CHP's motorcycle sitting right there, got me, tagged and bagged, pulled me over. Did you know that the average driver gets 9 traffic tickets in their lifetime? Look, I'll be the first to admit that I've taken maybe a couple of liberties with traffic laws back in the day. And of course, when I got caught, I had to go to court to fight the ticket, which was always a hassle. And each time that I lost my case, it meant big fines, points on my record, and higher insurance premiums. Eventually, I realized that nothing beats having a good attorney argue your case in court. So here's what you do. You download the Off the Record app to your phone and register for an account. And if you get a ticket, simply upload a photo of your ticket into the app and you will be quickly matched with a lawyer in your jurisdiction. Your lawyer will start working your case right away, and in most cases, you'll never have to set foot in a courtroom. Off the Record has a 97% success rate and a 4.9 star rating on Google. And guess what? They even offer a money-back guarantee if they aren't able to reduce the points or keep that ticket fully off your record. Best of all, I've arranged a 10% discount for all of my YouTube viewers, so download the app and register using the referral code FASTLIFE to receive 10% off your first case. So he pulls in behind me and he goes, the usual thing, dismounts, comes over, license, registration, proof of insurance, yada, 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 yada. He says, what are you going so fast for? And I said, I'm trying, I don't know where I'm at, I don't know how to get to where we're going. This is in the days before satellite navigation. This was before TomToms, those little things you had on top of your dash. This was before in-car navigation. We had the Thomas Brothers Guide. It was a map book, which was about this thick, about this tall, and about this wide. And you could be looking at Zuma Beach, which is on page 32, but the beach right next to it might be on page 108. That's just the way that thing was built. He goes, you're trying to catch up to your friends? What kind of car were they in? I said, well, they were in several cars. It's a cream-colored station wagon, a silver Honda Civic, and then a blue Datsun 200 SX. And then he goes, nope, I haven't seen him come by, right? So he hands me back proof of insurance, and he gets his ticket book out. He goes, is the address all correct and all that kind of stuff? He doesn't even get through the first line of the ticket, and all of a sudden, all of my friends come flying by. Beep, 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 beep. He looks at me and goes, you know what? You probably were going so fast that you passed him in the tunnel, you didn't even see him. Needless to say, when I went to court to fight the case, I lost. And so that was my first ticket and my first point on my record. So by the time I was 21 years old, I had about 23 traffic tickets. 4 of them were moving violations, and everything else was pretty much a fix-it ticket. If you don't know what that is in this country or in California, they give you tickets to fix equipment on your car. So I got a ticket for modified exhaust, tinted windows, my car was too low at one point. It had illegal lighting, like too many fog lights and bright lights on the bumpers, that kind of stuff. Stuff hanging from under the rear view mirror. Back in the day, you used to hang a dream catcher or a roach clip or any number of things from the rear view mirror. Tinted headlight covers, which I made myself. Tinted taillights, which was no easy thing to do back then because they didn't sell this stuff. You had to make it. And so in the little town that I lived in called WOAH, Valencia, it was the good old boy cops, and they didn't like anything but muscle cars. So my little bright red riced out Isuzu was easy to spot. And I knew every cop in town by their first name. So over the years, I picked up the odd ticket here and there, and about once every 4 to 5 years after that, I'd get pulled over. But from the year 1995 to today, I've been pulled over just once in my R34 movie car, once in my Mustang, once in my Lambo, once in my Porsche, and twice in my R35. Out of all of that, I only got 2 tickets from those 6 interactions. So not too bad. However, I'm not counting the 2 tickets that I got in 2 days when I was on the bull run with Mario Andretti back in 2006. That's a story I told on VinWiki. But over the years, I've learned several tactics to help reduce the chance of getting pulled over. So when I sat down to really come up with a lesson plan to help others, I narrowed down the tactics to 13 repeatable behaviors that have kept my driving record clean all these years. Number 1, for starters, I've learned that there's a time to go and a time to whoa. And what does that mean? Here's an example. A freeway on-ramp is generally a good place to mash the pedal for a quick thrill. But don't enter the freeway doing 30 miles an hour faster than all the other cars and then fly into the fast lane. That draws attention, as you could probably imagine. A residential street is a good time to whoa, slow down. Speeding in a residential area is not only illegal, it's reckless, and nobody wants a dead kid on their hands. 2, you need to pick stretches of roads with good visibility and very few access points.
You boys like Mexico? Yeah!
Any long street that has a lot of intersections or places that another car can pull out in pursuit or in front of you is risky. Bad idea. A good road is something that is secluded with no hiding places for cops and no driveways or no access streets for a long stretch. The further the better. Number 3, assess your visibility. The brighter the color of your car, the more you will be seen. It's no secret that a silver Camry will be almost invisible to cops, while a green Lamborghini can pretty much be spotted from the fucking space station. Drive accordingly. If you're in a bright green car and you're driving like a douche, you're gonna get tagged and bagged. Number 4, a radar detector is mandatory. Not only does it ward off speeding tickets, it's a good reminder to slow down, especially on city streets. Buy a good one. The cheap ones have a real problem. All of these lane change warning systems on these other cars and the radar cruise control systems in newer cars will wreak havoc and spew false alarms on cheap radar detectors. A good one will not give you false detections. My radar detector has saved me from at least 20 tickets since 2005. Number 5, mobile apps like WAZE, for example, which alert you to police speed traps, and you should definitely have a phone mount in your car and be running the WAZE app every time your car is moving, even if you're just going down the road. Number 6, if you're not looking 8 seconds ahead down the road when you drive, number 1, you suck at driving, sorry but you do, and number 2, you're asking for a ticket. You need to be looking as far ahead as possible all the time, and every 5 to 10 seconds you should be checking your rear view mirror. You need to have situational awareness. Your head should be on a swivel, and knowing what's in your blind spots, what's coming up behind you, and what's going on in front of you is important. Not just to avoid accidents, but to scope out any camping cops and give you time to bleed off some speed. Number 7, overpasses and on-ramps are great hiding places for cops using radar or laser. If you're on an open highway like you would find in Texas or eastern part of California, you don't want to be the guy at the front of a line of cars doing 90 miles an hour. Which brings me to my next point. Number 8, find a rabbit. If you've ever driven across country or long distances on deserted roads, one of the best ways to avoid a ticket is to find a guy who's moving at a reasonable clip, say 75 to 80, 85 to 90, and get behind him, but keep back about 100 to 200 yards. He'll get pulled over first. He won't like it, but that's the way it is. And when this tactic is used in conjunction with the radar detector, it would be very, very hard to get a ticket this way, except from aircraft. I'll tell you another story. About 15 years ago, I used to drive back and forth to San Francisco 4 times a year. There were many times that I used this tactic at speeds well over the state limit. Never got a ticket. Number 9, know your headlights. Most cop cars don't use HID lights, but knowing headlight patterns is something we OGs learned back in the day. Speeding at night on a nearly deserted road, whether it's the freeway or urban area, is really risky. Frequent lane changes and moving dramatically faster than the traffic around you at night will definitely stand out. So you need to know what's coming up behind you, and you need to pay attention to their closure rate, how fast they're coming up on you. Number 10, generally speaking, stay the hell out of the fast lane if traffic is light. You'll be more noticeable to law enforcement if you're that guy doing 90 miles an hour on an empty freeway with nobody around you in the fast lane. Your best practice is to move smoothly through traffic. My general practice that I use is basically, I use the fast lane for passing, then I move one lane to the right, I use my turn signal, I move over smoothly, I move over slowly, and I can see the full car, and I can see the full grille of the car behind me in my rear view mirror before I start to merge. You certainly don't want to be speeding if your car is all alone on the freeway. You can stand out like a sore thumb. Nor do you want to be zipping in and out of traffic with aggressive lane changes. Guaranteed you're going to get pulled over, and if not for your speed, for unsafe lane change. Number 11, know your surroundings. Pay attention to where the cops hang out on your daily commute. Where I live, they hang out in the same two spots. I promise myself to always slow down in those areas, even when I haven't seen a cop there for a while. It's just habit. Number 12, remember that most tickets are written in urban and commercial areas. In other words, inside cities. Speeding around town is risky. Here in California, on the highways, the CHP uses mostly radar, sometimes laser, depending on the conditions. In the cities, radar and laser is used. And if you get a laser ticket, good luck. That one's going to be really hard to fight in court, and you're definitely going to need to hire legal representation. And of course, there are other tactics I employ when I drive. For example, if I am speeding and I get a radar or laser alert, I don't slam on the brakes. Number one, it's unsafe. And number two, the cop who's looking at you, he's going to see you, and he's going to see the front end of your car dip from the braking force, and he'll know that you were going fast. What I like to do is drop down a gear or two and partially pull on a little bit of handbrake, and this instantly scrubs off about 15 to 20 miles an hour without any exterior telltale visual cues for the officer. Of course, the easiest way to avoid a speeding ticket is not to speed, but I'm a realist. Besides, if I wanted to drive slow, I'd own a Prius.
Oh, hell no!
And of course, I also remember what it was like to be 18 years old, driving home on a Friday night after your party. Cops love to pull over young people in the middle of the night. They'd find excuses to pull you over. Things like no front license plate, not wearing a seatbelt, expired tags, or having a taillight out will get you pulled over at 1 a.m. for sure. And if your buddies in the car all smell like weed, you can bet on getting pulled out of the car. All of you. Make sure you're not rolling dirty, especially if you have a modified car. For those of you who go on canyon runs or car cruises, the chance of getting pulled over in one of those activities is about 100 times higher than just driving on the freeway at 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. So I limit my exposure to traffic tickets by being choosy about where and when I speed. I've always done this, and it works very well. But here's the biggest tip for avoiding a ticket, and I've heard other attorneys say this, so there's got to be something to it. Be polite. From the moment the cop turns on his lights, be polite. You start by pulling as far off the road as possible. Cops do not like to hang their ass out in traffic while they're writing a ticket. When I got lit up on the freeway a few years ago, I exited the freeway and I pulled into the first parking lot. The cop came up and thanked me for doing that because he realized that I was doing it for his safety, not to run from him. Always turn on your interior lights if it's nighttime. If the cop comes walking up to the car, turn on your interior lights, roll down all the windows, and even the back windows if you have passengers back there. The whole thing is that the cop needs to see everything that's going on in that car, and you want the cop to have clear visibility inside your car. It relieves some of the tension, and the guy knows that you're looking out for his safety. Next thing is put your hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2 and keep them there until directed otherwise. Don't start reaching in your back pocket for your wallet. Don't start digging in your glove box, your center console, whatever. Don't start reaching under the seat. Don't make rapid movements with your hands. Just stay put. Sit still. Keep your hands on the top of the steering wheel all the time until directed to move. If the officer asks you that trick question, do you know why I pulled you over? Your answer is no. He's asking you a question because he wants you to admit guilt. If he asks you how fast you were going, you just say yes. You don't give him a number. Then that's it. Shut up. That's it. Nothing else. The reason you don't answer questions or get chatty with the cop is because every question the officer asks is an attempt to build evidence for the case against you, and he'll write down all those notes on the back of the ticket for when he goes to court. Whatever you do, do not argue, do not raise your voice, don't cop an attitude, be nice, be polite. I have found that this often works for getting out of a ticket. In fact, many times I've gotten out of a ticket just because I have a conversation with the officer. And if you cause any problems or become argumentative, the cop will remember who you are when you will go to court, and you're just going to make things more difficult for you. The last thing you want from that traffic stop is for the cop to remember you when he sees you in court. Just sign the ticket. It's not an admission of guilt. Go on your way, then contact your ticket attorney and fight the ticket in court. Once the cop starts writing, there's no way you're not getting a ticket. So at that point, just sit quietly, sign the ticket quietly, no closing snide remarks, no huffing, no puffing, no slamming doors. Take your medicine like a man and argue your case through an attorney. That's the way to do it. These strategies have saved me more tickets than I can ever count. I know that I've saved it myself from at least 6 tickets in the past 20 years just by doing this. That's going to be it for this episode. I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my content by hitting the subscribe button below. And please check my video description for important links to my merch and special coupon offers from my sponsors. You can save money with the coupon codes, and it's worth the time. I'll see you next time.